October 12, 2014, from TCF Bank Stadium in Minneapolis, Minnesota. It was the Detroit Lions at the Minnesota Vikings. The Lions got on the scoreboard first as Matthew Stafford hit Theo Riddick for a 9-yard touchdown pass that made it 7-0 Lions over the Vikings. That would be the only score in the first quarter. Then in the second quarter, the only score that we would see would be at the very end of the second quarter, just before halftime. Matt Prater came out to kick a 52-yard field goal, and it was up and it was good. And the Lions went to the locker rooms at halftime up 10-0 over the Vikings. And that would be Prater's only field goal in the game. He actually went 1 for 3 in this game. There would be no scoring in the third quarter. And in the fourth quarter, the Lions would further extend their lead as Joique Bell scored on a 1-yard touchdown run to make it 17-0 Detroit over Minnesota, as the Detroit Lions started off this game with 17 unanswered points. And then with about 5 minutes left, the Vikings finally got on the scoreboard as Blair Walsh came out to kick a 40-yard field goal to make it 17-3, and that would be it, as the Detroit Lions defense shuts down the Minnesota Vikings and keeps them out of the end zone. And the Lions pick up the victory, and they improve their record to 4-2 on the season, and the Vikings are now 2-4. And the final score was 17-3, Lions over the Vikings. And in this game, Matthew Stafford was 19 for 33 with 185 passing yards and 1 touchdown. Teddy Bridgewater was 23 for 37 with 188 passing yards and 3 interceptions. He rushed for 11 yards off of 3 carries. McKinnon was the Vikings' leading rusher with 40 yards off 11 carries. The game's leading rusher was Joique Bell with 74 yards off of 18 carries, one of which was for a touchdown. The game's leading receiver was Theo Riddick with 75 yards off of 5 receptions and a touchdown. He also rushed for 6 yards off of 3 carries. Golden Tate had 44 yards off of 7 receptions. McKinnon was also the Vikings' leading receiver, as he was the Vikings' leading rusher. He had 42 receiving yards off of 6 receptions. And on defense, the Lions had 8 sacks. That's right, 8 sacks. The Vikings actually had 4, but the Lions had 8. And DeAndre Levy had half a sack to go along with his 7 tackles and his 1 tackle for a loss. Johnson had 6 tackles and 1.5 sacks and 2 tackles for losses. Ansah had 5 tackles, 2.5 sacks, and 3 tackles for losses. Ahidebo had 4 tackles and a half a sack. Jones had 3 tackles and a half a sack. Ndamukong Suh had 2 tackles and 2 sacks, 2 tackles for losses. And Reed had half a sack as well as a tackle. So that was the 8 sacks for the Lions defense, as they were all over Bridgewater and in the backfield of the Vikings all game. And they also had 3 interceptions, as Whitehead had 2 interceptions. He also had 7 tackles. And Quinn had 1 interception as well to go along with his 2 tackles. The Vikings, their sacks, Brinkley had a sack, Griffin had a sack, Robinson and Joseph combined for a sack. They each had half a sack, and Johnson had a sack. So the Lions win this game in a defensive battle. The final score, Detroit 17, Minnesota 3.